Welcome to the eCommerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
Josh Chin here. I'm the host of the eCommerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts in the e-com industry and we go behind the scenes of the struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by Chronos.agency. If you're a direct-to-consumer e-com brand that is ready for next-level growth, to unlock the optimal customer lifetime value through email marketing, Chronos is your company. We've worked with brands like Truly Beauty, Elias Skin, The Udi, and many more to unlock over $70 million in additional revenue via email. And our clients get an average of 3,500% ROI from our efforts. The next step is to email us at sales@chronos.agency. That's sales@chronos.agency, or you can go to chronos.agency to check out more. Today's guest that I have with us today, Charlie Moyer, is the original badass and CEO of Badass Beard Care. In 2014, Charlie realized that beard products out there in the market just weren't quite good enough, and he began making his own oils and balms. Today, Badass Beard Care offers premium beard oils, balms, waxes, washes in multiple scents, deodorants, tools, and many more. Their mission is to inspire men to unleash their inner badass by providing inspiring content and premium natural products that promote healthy skin and beard hair growth. Charlie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
Charlie, first question for you. Tell us about your origin story. We were chatting a little bit before the show, and you have such an interesting background.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people see that I have a successful business, and they think that I either came from a family that was in the business or came from money and had some kind of leg up. But the truth of the matter is, I grew up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. My parents were the traditional Santa Cruz hippies that lived in a school bus out in the redwood forest, and that's where I grew up. It's kind of what inspired me to grow my beard. My dad had a beard my entire life. I never saw him without one, and he passed when I was 14, so I never had a chance to grow a beard and see if I would look like him. So as soon as I was able to, I started growing my beard out just to see if I would look like my dad, and I wanted to make him proud. So I made the best products that I could to do that.
I'm sure he's proud, man. You've done amazingly well for yourself, and you've created such an incredible community. So let's dive a little bit into the business. Tell us a bit of a quick overview of how the business came about for someone who doesn't know.
So in 2014, I was still active duty in the Coast Guard, but I knew that I was getting out. I was getting medically retired, and I had some leave saved up, so I was able to stop going into the Coast Guard while still being active duty, and I didn't have to shave every day. So I started growing it out and realized I needed some kind of products to take care of my beard. My wife especially was not fond of how prickly my face was, or any lingering scents. She was really weird. She didn't want me to look homeless or be out of place. She was just a very clean-cut military man. She wanted to make sure that even with a beard, I kind of maintained that type of appearance. So I made it my mission to do it right. And I started making products just for myself and on a budget. And when you start making products for yourself, a little bit goes a very long way. There was actually a lot of leftover product, and I didn't want it to go to waste. I was going to school at the same time that I was doing this, and there was a veteran center on campus. So even though I didn't have a beard yet, I knew that that's where it was going, and I wanted those products. So I started actually giving this extra stuff to these veterans that were growing their beards out already, asking them for feedback and trying to improve the products. So by the time that I was ready and had a full beard, that these products were ready for me, type of thing. But it was very quickly that the people that had testing those products out for me started asking if they could buy products, either for themselves, or they had a roommate that tried it out when they brought it home. The roommate wanted it. And it was getting closer to Christmas. This was around October of 2014. And people started asking if they could buy it for Christmas presents. And, I was like, okay, well, I'll put it online. At the time, I wasn't really selling it. If I did, it was someone gave me $10 or $15 at school, and I gave them a bottle of beard oil. But I put it online. My very first storefront was on GoDaddy. And I set it up in the evening with a GoDaddy employee that helped me set it up over the phone. And that employee was actually my very first sale on the website. He bought a bottle of beard oil before he left me alone for the night. So it grew really quick. I was still thinking it was just going to be a side hustle, and I put it up on social media on Instagram first. And the first month and a half was just me pushing pictures on Instagram, and the same little sizes that I was using to get the feedback from the veterans at school. I turned into a free sample, and I offered to give people this free sample of my beard products if they covered the shipping, and then shared that offer with their friends just to get the name out there. And it grew pretty quickly, but it was manageable until it was in November that Facebook started doing their Facebook ads and opened up for all the businesses on Facebook, and no longer like a beta that anyone could advertise on Facebook. And so I put that same picture that I had from Instagram on Facebook saying, I'll give a free sample, just share this with your friends. And I put $20 behind it. And I made a mistake, and it took me a long time to realize this mistake. But I said, message me for the coupon code. Instead of just putting the coupon code in the text, I wanted to make sure that as people were sharing the offer were getting a coupon code. But I woke up the next morning and I had over 100 messages waiting for me in my inbox. And I made it live at like 10 o'clock at night. So just from the time that I went to sleep and woke up, I had over 100 people that wanted to order this free sample. And very, very quickly, that was November of 2014. October, when I first really started going, I had, about $1,000 in sales. November, that jumped up to like $3,000 in sales. And then December, because those people in November got the free samples, December we did $30,000 in sales in that first year in 2014. And then every month after that, I was always afraid that things were going to drop off, or it was a fluke, or someone shared this that was famous, or something happened that was outside of my control. But it wasn't. It was just a good product, and I guess the easiest way to a bearded man's heart is through something free. So it exploded in popularity, and then we were able to build a community around that through social media, kind of inspiring guys to live their best life and be their best selves and be a true badass in that sense. Not like a hardcore, macho man, but more of a traditional, true, just inspiring person. Is what we try to lead our community, in a way that does that. So we've been very successful. We raised a lot of money for different charities. We've raised a lot of money for different customers that are in hard places. And we utilized the Facebook groups to grow that community. So I think we were one of the first companies that really started a group specifically for like a fan base or a customer group. And since then, that has really taken off in popularity as well.
So you started effectively a referral program before referral programs were cool.
Yeah, and I felt like I also kind of, as I said, not to toot my horn, I don't want to say that I did this. I just, I didn't know what I was doing. When I started in 2014, I was a gunner's mate in the Coast Guard, and I was going to school for Homeland Security and Emergency Management. And the class I was taking was Spanish. I had no education in business, no education in entrepreneurship, no research done into these subjects. I'd always had a passion for business, and I'd always wanted to do things on the side while I was active duty, but I never studied it or prepared for it. And especially through social media. Social media was a totally foreign concept to me. I was still on MySpace. It was interesting. But I came out when I first put that stuff on Instagram, I realized I didn't have any followers, and I didn't have any way to really get that, engagement out there to have people see it. So I started offering people that had, 20,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 followers free product if they would just post a picture of the product for me. And so I did that for about 4 or 5 months. And suddenly the people that were doing that for me, like, oh, hey, well, I've got other companies that are reaching out now too. They want me to post pictures of their stuff. I'm going to start this kind of like scheduled fee payment system that's no longer like you just send me some free product. And that got kind of complicated kind of quickly. And at that time, I prefer the ease of just paying Facebook to put it in front of people instead of having to deal with a ton of individual influencers. Like, looking back now, I kind of wish I had stayed 50-50 and put more effort into growing the influencer side, because now it's even more ridiculous and expensive to try to get with influencers. So I could have been much bigger. Right now on Facebook, we have 350,000 followers, and on Instagram, it's like 45,000. It's a fraction of the amount. And it's because we devoted so much effort into the Facebook marketing and Facebook advertising and kind of left that influencer side of Instagram alone.
Gotcha. What was the biggest turning point for you personally in your 6 years plus 7 years of doing business?
Hiring my first employee, because like I said, originally this was supposed to be kind of just for myself, and then it was supposed to be just a side gig. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I can do this myself and run this as a business, and I don't need to have a career outside of this. And then, within 3 months, it was, okay, I need an employee, and things are, getting serious now. Now I'm going to have other people depend on me to continue making sure the company is successful. So that was a big turning point. It fueled me to do better and to work harder, because now I had other people that were depending on me to succeed as well.
What was most meaningful to you in hiring an employee?
I think, in terms of meaningfulness, kind of that status where I had a business that was successful enough that not only could it afford an employee, but that it needed an additional employee. It felt like, to me, that meant that, it was at a point where it was no longer, I guess I had a chip on my shoulder, to kind of dig into it a little bit. The first month that I started it, and I told people that, I'm really seriously contemplating making this a business and dropping out of school and not pursuing a job in the federal government. The response, even from family, was, well, that's going to be a good hobby, but you should probably not stop what you're doing. And
that makes sense.
A little bit of shift that it's like, oh yeah, well, look at me now. I need an employee, and this is now no longer like a side gig. It's a full-time functioning business, and that gave me a sense of pride as well. In terms of meaningfulness.
Is that employee still with you today?
No. That was probably the worst exit from an employee I've had. No, I would say 99. We've had now in the last 7 years probably 60 or 70 employees. Transition, and currently full time we have about 20. So 20. Turnover employees average two years per turnover, and so we cycle through about that many, and 99% would come back again. They either find other opportunities that are paying more, or they go back to school to get a more career specific job. And we're totally for that. I try to push employees to better themselves in that way. I don't envision any of our lower level employees that are capping bottles and labeling and shipping to make a career out of capping, labeling, and shipping. So I'm glad to provide this kind of stepping stone for those guys to be able to do that. But yeah, that first employee, when he left, he told me that he was at lunch. He's like, I'm leaving. And I was like, oh, are you going out to lunch? Because normally he would just stay at the shop and eat there. And he's like, no, I'm done. I quit. I'm not coming back. And he just left. And it was just a random Friday at lunch. And it was like 4 weeks into the job.
Wow.
And
okay.
I think part of it was my very first employee. And so I didn't have any standards. It was like, oh, you want to work? Let's work. There was no hiring process. There was no way for me to vet them. I didn't know what I needed or what I wanted, or the personality types that would work best. Whether it be for that type of job or still work for me specifically, because I can be kind of a unique person to work for. Challenging, I would put it. But yeah, now I've got a better idea. The questions that I ask people when I interview them are much less skill-based and more personality-based.
You seem very self-aware, Charlie. So what have you learned from that? If you could go back in time and hire your first employee again, knowing what you know today, is there anything you'd do differently?
Where I was looking, so at the time I was looking on Craigslist, just because it seemed like the easiest thing to find someone local. But Craigslist does not generally yield the best applicants. So I guess first thing would be just utilizing the best channels to find the best people. The second thing would be, just like I said, looking at personality and not necessarily what's on their resume on paper. Because a lot of people exaggerate or outright lie or omit And so you can't really go based off of that. So I find, especially for lower level tasks and lower level employees like that, you're going to do on the job training to get them up to speed with what they need to do anyways, just to look at personality and work ethic and whether or not they are going to contribute to the culture that you want to create at your workplace.
Gotcha. And I think every entrepreneur, well, I certainly did, comes to a point in time where they come to terms with what they're good at, where their superpower lies, and where they're absolutely shit at. And I've come to a point where I understand what my strengths are, where my areas of geniuses are. So my question to you is, what is your superpower, and how do you deal with the rest of the stuff within your responsibility that you're just not good at? What do you do with those things?
Yes, to start with, I don't have a lot of superpowers. I am shit at a lot of stuff. Yes, I'm not very good at a lot of things. But I think what has helped me to succeed is attention to detail. I feel like I have a really keen attention to detail. I'm very particular, part of what makes it challenging to work for me. But yeah, just having that attention to detail and an ability to put myself into the place of the consumer and try to think like them. And I tell people this one particular story a lot, just because I feel like it really emphasizes a change in thought process I had about consumers in general. And it has to do with the free sample offer that I was telling you about. So when people would they would message for the coupon code, and so I would give them the coupon code through Messenger, and so there was already an open line of communication. And the most common response I got after sending someone a coupon code for the free product is that this is a scam because the coupon code doesn't work. And I mean, the coupon code did work, and I even made it so where the coupon code could be used more than one time, because sometimes people would press apply, but then go back to look at something, and so it would unapply the coupon code and then go to use it again, and the system thought it was already used because one application already been hit. So I tried to change things so that it was very, very user friendly. But what I was not prepared for was people were calling it a scam because they were misspelling the coupon code.
Okay.
And I didn't think it would be that prevalent, but very quickly, I mean, it was probably at least 10 messages a day. And I found that if one person messages you about a problem, you've had 10 people that actually had the problem, and one will reach out.
Right.
So it was like 10 people a day that were reaching out telling me that this is just a scam, too good to be true. They want you to go enter it and it's not working. And I would ask, I struggled with trying to find a way to ask them if they were spelling the coupon code correctly without sounding condescending or sounding like I was implying they were doing something wrong, while also trying to say that through a text, because you don't have the inflection in tone. They can't see my face. Like, oh, it happens, like,
oh yeah,
a lot of people miss. And then I was also getting very frustrated because the coupon code was free trial, one word. And so it wasn't necessarily a hard coupon code, and it was typed out. They can copy and paste it. It was all caps. So they can see it very clearly. So I started getting frustrated. And instead of helping these customers, I would help the ones that messaged me, but I would just get mad and frustrated at these consumers. Like, it is not something hard. You're calling my credibility into question, saying that I'm a scam. I'm trying to offer you something free. It got really aggravating. And so I realized that I need to stop thinking that they need to figure it out and come up to my standard, and I just needed to remove all barriers for these customers. And so what I ended up doing was I created different versions of the coupon code with all the misspellings that people had sent back to me. When I asked them, hey, I'm really sorry that your code's not working. I promise you it's not a scam. Can you please, I started asking, can you please just tell me which coupon code you're using? And that way they had to write the coupon code back to me. Instead of asking, like, are you using free trial, because they see it and they automatically, without even looking to see if it's spelled correctly, say, yes, I'm using that. I would ask them to tell me what they're using. And then so I started using those misspellings and creating new coupon codes. And what I found was it 10% of people misspelled the coupon code. So I looked at, over the course of 4 years, how many times the correctly spelled coupon code was used and how many times misspellings were used. And it was literally 10%. So I made our only ad for 4 years was that free sample ad, and I made it 10% more effective by spending 3 minutes to create those extra coupon codes. And then I also never had any complaints. So it also saved me an hour a day having to respond to these 10 people that were really pissed off, thinking that I'm trying to scam them. And so I learned, like, stop getting frustrated, stop getting mad when there's consumers that are irrational or that don't follow instructions or that don't get it, and just get smart. Remove those barrier to entries and get on their level. Just make it so that it works for them. And it's been much less stressful for me, much less stressful for my customer service team, and much more profitable for our company.
It's really interesting, and obviously it has worked out really well for the business. You were telling me that we're talking a little bit about conversions on the site, and we're clocking in at 8 to 10% on daily conversions on the site, on site-wide. What?
Yes. Yeah. When we had free sample offer as our primary advertising campaign, we were running a 10 to 12% conversion rate. In 2020, when the pandemic first hit, we transitioned our marketing. We essentially cut all of our marketing down to a small fraction of what it was that March, just because sales plummeted and nobody was buying, no one knew what was happening. But when the first stimulus check started hitting, our sales suddenly were like Christmas. It was a very big swing.
Yeah.
And we decided to market and advertising full-size products as well as our free sample and doing more of a mix. And so over the course of 2020 and now into 2021, we have transitioned that. Now about 80% of our budget, a little more than 80% of our budget, goes towards full-size products, and just under 20% goes towards those free samples. And so that is why our conversion rate has dropped from 10 to 12 down to 8 to 10, but it's still, even with
impressive.
It's still a really good number, and the feedback that we get from our customers is just incredible.
8 to 10% is absolutely bonkers. I think that's definitely top 1%, and I think in the industry. I might be wrong.
I know we're talking. I know we're talking about subscription-based models, right?
Yeah.
And so you look at the average churn rate. You know what churn rate is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So our churn rate is 1%.
Wait, your subscription churn is at 1%, like month to month?
Yeah.
That's something interesting. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Tell me a little bit more about how the subscription is structured.
So it's totally customizable. Customers can subscribe to any products they want to, at any frequencies they want to, with any amount that they want to. They get additional discounts on the products for subscribing, and they also get discounts site-wide once they become a club member on one-time purchases for accessories and apparel, other things like that. Things that are branded, they get huge discounts on, like 30% off. And then they also are able to skip shipments whenever they want. They don't feel a need to cancel because, like, oh, I've got some product building up. We're like, hey, you can just skip your next couple of shipments, or you can schedule your next shipment to be every 3 months instead of every month. And so that flexibility, I think, has really led to that really, really low churn rate. So we've never advertised our club once. We spend about $500,000 a year on Facebook ads, and we haven't put $1 towards our club advertising yet. I was telling you that we're planning on revamping and relaunching our website, and it's been a multi-year ordeal. And I didn't want to put any marketing dollars behind it until we had it totally ready. I said, unfortunately, it's taken a lot longer than we wanted. But the good news is I have a lot of analytics now and a lot of data on what that club has done without any work behind marketing it. Like I said, there's no ads or nothing. The only way to find it is through a tab on our website, rather than read more about it and then get into it. We don't even do posts on our social about it. But we've had a constant growth in that club for the last 5 years in the way it's currently formatted, with a 1% churn rate and 4x on what our customer lifetime value is compared to customers that shop for one-time things.
That is crazy. 4x the customer lifetime value versus just a single purchase type of customer.
Yep.
What's your advice for brands thinking about starting a um, subscription offer or product?
I would say don't wait. But it needs to be a very value driven prospect in order for people to convert really well on it.
Right.
So I would say build that into your margins when you're looking at it. Obviously a subscription is going to be a recurring thing. So you no longer look at your average order value and your average cost per conversion, and then your average cost per product in order to determine if it's going to be a profitable marketing campaign or not. You're going to have to start to look at your customer lifetime value, and it might not pay off that first month, but over the course of a few months, it's going to start to pay dividends, and then as it grows, it's really going to start to pay dividends. So you can take a little bit more of a hit or offer a bigger value proposition, especially getting people to sign up. So I guess that's a really big one. You offer something to get them in the door, to get them to sign up, and whether it be through sheer laziness or through a sense of commitment to the company or obligation because they're receiving discounts or whatever it is, or whether it's content they're getting, if you give them some kind of value for being in, and they just won't cancel. Even if they have product they don't need anymore, or it's starting to build up, and you normally would not get that customer to come back and buy one time, they just keep letting those subscriptions roll. So it really helps with the lifetime customer value and helps to keep those customers engaged. They get that shipment, and even if they didn't want it, it means they have to reach out. That gets them back in your flows, that gets them back on your website. It's a great opportunity. There's a lot of companies that are very hard and fast on the return policies for subscriptions, where it's like once the order is processed, there's no canceling it. It doesn't matter if it's in the warehouse, that order is going out. And what I've found is those type of tactics, it really kills the customer loyalty. They don't want to be subscribed to a company that, they have one issue and they want to make one return and they don't have that option. They just back out entirely. So what I found is that, and especially if you have low margins and you want to keep that money in your account, not lose the entire refund and have them resend it, I usually offer to trade them or to send them another product of similar value and let them keep the product they got. Our margins on the product itself is very, very small compared to the cost to acquire that consumer. So instead of refunding them, I'll get this, $30 for this oil and balm came out. And I'll say, well, I have a $15 comb and a $15 brush. I can send you one of each of these. That'll complement the products you've already got. And then you won't be out that $30. And I would say 9 out of 10 times, especially because they like the company so much already, the customer is totally agreeable with that. Not just agreeable, but kind of ecstatic that they get to keep the products they got by accident or that they didn't need, and they're getting something in addition. And it helps that customer lifetime value. It makes it so that in our customer groups on Facebook, when someone posts about an issue, they are responded to by a dozen customers before our customer service rep even sees it, and they are all positive things like, "Don't you worry, their customer service team is awesome. They'll get you taken care of. Like, here's the email you need to contact. Here's their hours of operation." Like, our customers just go in there and squash any negativity, and then also just uplift. If someone posts something positive, everyone else posts something positive as well, and the new customers see that, and it's like their best friends are giving a glowing testimonial of a product. Even though they've never met them before, seeing someone say this in a social forum, like a group like that, I feel like outweighs just a review from a random person left on the website. 10 to 1, easy.
And effectively, you have basically 350,000 customer support agents working on your behalf. And
yeah. And the difficult part, once you get into it, you need to have someone kind of monitor it. That's right. That's part where I struggled as well, as I was trying to handle it all myself. And inevitably, especially with the politics and everything else and coronavirus, drama happens with most groups. You get one person that gets in and posts something in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. that you don't see until 8 a.m. And it's got 200 comments. And, because mods haven't taken this down, they must be complicit. They must agree. And I mean, it's just, it can get to be a nightmare when something bad does happen. So you need to have someone kind of dedicated to monitoring those groups like that. But yes, but effectively, you create these groups of totally loyal, outgoing. They want to tell everyone they know about your product. Just fan club. It's really cool, and they help each other out. It's really cool to see the community that these people will bring to each other, and you kind of foster it a little bit and lead the way. And I'll give you, if we have time, I'll give you one more example.
Yeah, let's do it.
So when I first launched that group, we had, I think, 600 people join like the first night.
Okay.
And that was just through posts on social. It wasn't email blast or anything. It was just our social posts, and they followed us right there.
That's
and
impressive.
Over the first few weeks, I got to know some of these customers. Not in depth, but taking care of customer service issues or answering questions they had about a product, or just introducing myself and the company and why I created that group. And one of the guys was like, he made a post saying how he was just in a really dark spot and needed someone to talk to. And our customers all jumped in, and they were really great. I mean, there was like hours and hours of conversations and hundreds of comments in that thread that were really helping. But I sent him a hat, and I saw it, and I knew his address because he'd been a customer. And so I just sent him a hat. I didn't tell him I was sending it. I just wrote him a little note, and I sent it without making it. Didn't post about it. I made no fanfare about it whatsoever. And that guy, in the next year, and keep in mind, these are beard care products. And I've got a decent sized beard. A bottle of oil costs $15, and it'll last me about 2 months.
Yeah.
This guy had a beard about a third of the length of mine. But in his first year, he had 85 orders for a total of about $2,800 in beard care products.
No way.
He was buying for friends and family. He was buying for other people in the group. They were like, "Hey, I can't afford my subscription this month. I was really looking forward to that seasonal." And he would pick up the tab for their subscriptions. He was buying for random people he met on the street, like meet someone at the bar. He's like, "Really, to try this," and you buy them an oil and send it to them. So I mean, they cost me one hat.
That is crazy.
And I didn't have to go in and post about it, because as soon as he got it, he made this big heartfelt post about how much it meant to him, and he shared the experience with everybody in that group. And it was like I did that for everybody. It wasn't like I just did it for him. It was like I did it for everybody. And so it just little things like that, where it was like once a month or once every other month, I would see something and just randomly, no fanfare, and I would send them something out, and the reactions were priceless. Really made me smile, made everyone else smile. But in terms of customer loyalty, it made our fans hardcore fans.
That's such a simple gesture. And I'm going to go on a different route here with something like this. I see that a lot of brands are trying to, I guess the word to use would be manufacture a similar reaction. Yeah. But often that's counterproductive, because that then becomes ingenuine or just fake. With all
and there is, and because I think that's part of it, right? I would send things out without the fanfare. I wouldn't post about it.
Correct.
I think that if I had posted, "Oh, hey, this guy was going through a hard time, and look at me, I sent him a hat, and click here to read the blog about it." That seems like you're just doing a press release. But when the post comes from someone else that received it, and it's just a genuine, heartfelt post, and then they get good interaction on it, which makes Facebook algorithm gets really happy, and they start showing that to more and more people, and suddenly organically getting all these people are seeing it. It's not a paid advertisement that I'm paying to put out in front of people. It's not a blog post that I wrote and I'm trying to funnel people to it. It's just organic, and it pays off dividends. And it doesn't always pay off. I mean, I sent out a lot of things, and the person never posts about it or doesn't say anything to me about it. I don't even know if they ever even really got it. I'm assuming they did, and I'm assuming that they're happy. And in terms of, like I said, you look at the cost to me to these products, and the margins are there. The most expensive part, like I said, is getting that customer. And so if I can lose a couple bucks by sending someone a hat or a free bottle of oil or spend a couple extra minutes of my time after hours to message one of the customers on Facebook to take care of an issue personally instead of waiting until Monday, especially on the weekend. If I see something on a Friday night and I'm not doing anything, and the customer has an urgent issue, I know a lot of business owners that are like, my customer service team will handle that on Monday. That's what they're there for. The way that I look is that customer has an issue, they're on their phone or their computer right then, which means they have our website up right then as well. And my best shot of just helping the customer, but then also getting a sale or getting that conversion from this customer is to answer them right there while they have the website up. As soon as they leave, they close out, the chances dramatically drop. So I just take a little extra initiative to make sure that I have those connections with the customers, and I try to just be genuine about it.
It's the little things, it's those extra mile that you go that really build a community of not just fans, but loyal, raving fans. And there is that the mushroom effect of that one loyal fan that goes out to tell and creates 10 other fans, and those 10 fans then go talk to their friends about the brand. Charlie, what other brands do you personally look up to that you think does a great job at building a good brand and a good community like you have?
Black Rifle Coffee Company would be a really good example of a brand I look up to. Not just for the work in the e-commerce space, but because they have so seamlessly transitioned that work in e-commerce to also doing brick and mortar. They're opening brick and mortar coffee shops and store locations. They're killing it with their wholesale. They're in every gun store that I've been to in California here has got Black Rifle Coffee in it. They're killing it with the direct to consumer. They even have K-Pods. So, and their content is phenomenal, and they've been king of content pretty much since day one when they launched out. And I mean, the numbers support it. So I definitely look up to them there. Another company would be Grunt Style. It's a veteran-owned apparel company. They have done a really good job of fostering communities within Facebook and other social platforms that bring a lot of veterans together and a lot of patriots together, and they've created some very large communities that way. They've also done it right with the subscription program. They have their Grunt Style, or they call it Club Grunt Style. That's their subscription platform, along with one-time orders, and they've really done it right as well. So I look up to them. Death Wish Coffee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were really, really heavy on social, and they built some really good communities, and they still have some really good communities within the Death Wish coffee groups. And they hit it really big. I don't know if you saw, they won a contest to have a commercial in the Super Bowl. I think that was in the 2019 Super Bowl.
I did not know that, but
yeah, I saw that contest announced, and I was gunning for it. They got it.
Wow.
So I look at them, and I'm sure there's some other ones, and that everyone has things they're doing well and things they can improve on. There's a lot of companies that are doing exceptionally well, and I know me personally, I've got a lot of things that I can improve on. I have that attention to detail down, but I need a lot of help. And that's partly, like I said, the very first thing, hiring that first employee. Hiring higher level employees now has been the challenge. Finding people that I trust, that have my same vision, that have the core competencies, and that are willing to work for a smaller company as well. We have, like I said, 20 employees, but only 4 or 5 upper level. Everyone else is production or shipping or customer service. So yeah, finding people to take on these higher level tasks as we continue to grow has been difficult. And that's why I think those companies look up to. That's probably where they're crushing it. I think Grunt Style just brought on a CEO that used to be CEO of Under Armour.
Under Armour, okay.
Maybe a similar type of brand. I mean, they brought in a real heavy hitter to bring their company up to the next level. Same with Black Rifle Coffee. Their founders are still very much a big part of it, but they brought in some very high level talent to help them grow when they started getting viral with their content. And that's something that I need to get better at, is finding out talent and then finding what I'm good at, focusing on that, and then letting that talent take care of the things that I'm not good at.
With that in mind, what's the next phase, the next stage of growth for Badass Beard Care?
We have a couple of things in the works. We've been on Amazon for a long time, and it does pretty well for us. It's about 20 to 25% of our revenue.
Okay.
I guess it was bigger. It was 25% in 2019. 2020, when the pandemic hit, our site just kind of exploded in late April, and so we started doing Christmas numbers, and so Amazon did not reflect that. Amazon did not reflect that. Now it's a little bit less, but upcoming, growing our Amazon side, I think, is a big one. Getting the club merged and operating correctly and relaunched will be probably the biggest thing. And then I also recently brought on a wholesale manager. I say recently, it's been a year now. I brought her on in February of 2020, right before COVID hit and everything locked down and all the retail partners closed down. So we actually had not a signed contract, but intent to move forward with a very large brick and mortar store that's across the entire United States here. It's going to be very big, our very biggest wholesale account. We're in a lot of barbershops, but this was going to be like the first big heavy hitter we got. And so I got new retail packaging and hired a wholesale person in order to manage that program. And that got shelved and put on the back burner since everywhere closed down. This year, once things start loosening up a little bit, we're hoping that we get those talks rolling again, and that the wholesale manager really starts making some big gains there. But wholesale could be big. Right now, we are 98% direct consumer.
Wow, gotcha. Amazing, Charlie. If our listeners are interested to connect with you or learn more about Badass Beard Care, where should they go to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you can find my profiles on social media. It's just Charlie Moyer or Charlie BABC Moyer on Facebook. Be sure to follow all of our company stuff. We do a lot of behind the scenes and meet the team and informational videos and content through all of our social platforms. And we are really starting to grow our YouTube. Like I said, we hired that content creators. So now we're putting out a steady flow of new content to include some really funny skits and informational videos. So be sure to check out our YouTube and subscribe to that.
I'm personally looking forward to the next phase in your company's growth. Charlie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you, Joshua.
Thanks for listening to the E-commerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.